Hi everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about activity ratios. These are the third category of accounting ratios which are used to analyze the financial statements. We already discussed about liquidity ratios and solvency ratios, and in this video we are going to discuss about activity ratios. Okay, let's go to the video. The first activity ratios, and this activity ratio shows how effectively a firm uses its available resources or assets. These ratios indicates how effectively a firm uses its available resources or assets, and these ratios indicates the efficiency in asset management. The asset management efficiency of a firm is indicated through activity ratios. These ratios are also known as efficiency ratios or performance ratios or asset utilization ratios. These ratios bring out the relationship between assets and sales. In other words, these ratios indicate the speed with which the resources are turned over or converted into cash. That is why these ratios are called turnover ratios. Higher the turnover ratio, that means better use of resources. And this further means that there is a higher profitability. In short, the activity ratio shows the speed with which a firm's resources are turned over or converted into cash, or how effectively a firm uses its available resources or assets. This is measured through activity ratios. The activity ratios effectively shows a firm's utilization of its resources, and a firm's efficiency's asset management is indicates to activity ratios. Okay, let's discuss what are the types of activity ratios. The first type is inventory turnover ratio. In inventory turnover ratio, or this ratio shows the relationship between cost of goods sold and average inventory or stock. The relationship between cost of goods sold and average inventory or stock is measured through the inventory turnover ratio, and it is called merchandise turnover ratio. This ratio is also known as merchandise turnover ratio. This ratio is obtained by dividing cost of goods sold by average stock. When we dividing the cost of sold by average stock of a firm, we get the activity or stock turnover ratio, and this indicates the number of times the stock is turned over or converted into cash. This inventory turnover ratio indicates the number of times a firm's stock is turned over or converted into sales. The stock turnover ratio is computed by following formula. The stock turnover ratio is equal to cost of goods sold divided by average stock. Stock turnover ratio is equal to cost of goods sold divided by average stock. There are two components in this formula. The first one is cost of goods sold and second one is average stock. The cost of goods sold is measured or calculated by opening stock plus purchases plus direct expenses including wages minus closing stock. This formula we already studied in the previous classes. We get the cost of goods sold by adding opening stock, purchases, direct expenses, and by deducting closing stock from these items. Okay, or we can otherwise calculate the cost of goods sold by deducting the gross profit from sales. That is, cost of goods sold is equal to sales minus gross profit. These two formulas can be used for calculating cost of goods sold. The next component is average stock in the formula. The average stock is calculated by adding the opening stock and closing stock and dividing it by 2. That is, average stock is equal to opening stock plus closing stock all divided by 2. If opening stock is not given, the stock closing stock may be used as the average stock. And if cost of goods sold cannot be ascertained from the given information, we can use the net sales in the place of cost of goods sold. Okay. And the next topic in this area is stock velocity. Generally, the stock turnover ratio is expressed in times. When it is expressed in days or months, it is called stock velocity. That is, stock velocity is the stock turnover ratio expressed in days or months. Therefore, the formula for calculating the stock velocity is the number of average direct formula is equal to the average stock divided by cost of goods sold into number of days or months in a year, or the stock velocity is equal to number of days or months in a year divided by stock turnover ratio in times. Okay, the stock velocity is the stock turnover ratio expressed in terms of days or months. We can get the stock velocity by dividing the number of days or months in a year by stock turnover in times. These are all about today's class. Thank you. Hope you are all watching this video. In tomorrow we have a discussion about this topic. Thank you.